Hit it, Asa.
What's up, brother?
Nice.
Sorry, what?
Remember you told me this never said was in my eyes and that's forget. Always guard yourself from those with no respect. Wise as serpent, watch out for innocence, she said. Who taught you not to fight? Who said it would be easy? There is no innocence in my isolation. There are no enemies, only confrontation. There are no victories, only lamentations. But I will defend myself without hesitation. I'd love to try, walk alone, live your life. I'd love to fight, or even if I die. I'd love to try, walk alone, not going down. I'd love to fight, even if I die. I haven't played that in a minute.
Are there Boston Dynamics face scanning robots going around Dallas?
What's going on in Dallas?
Some guy's got a video of some dog with all this like apparatus, like a robot dog with some apparatus all over it that says it's a facial scanning robot, and it looks like it might well be.
For like a private company or like this, like the
Boston
police?
Dynamics printed on the side, but I'm guessing it's the police have contracted with them to sort of help them solve warrants or something.
So like in Massachusetts, like
Yeah. FIFA World Cup in Dallas.
in Dallas. Forgive me, but it's Boston. I got it. Sorry.
Thing is. It's so wild that we are like minute by minute going into the future.
Well, that's why I used to argue, like, yo, dude, it would be so much easier to like argue the law with an AI robot than you would be able to with like some muscle bound, steroided fucking cop.
Yeah, that'd be
So
so
like,
true.
you know what I mean? Like with the AI, you'd be like, well, upon proof of claim that, that wouldn't be a deprivation of my rights under Title, whatever the fuck. And
Get
then
as angry as you want, tell it to go fuck itself, and it just wouldn't care.
well, I don't know about that because I think because they wouldn't handle that. I think they'll be, because there's what's called the use of force doctrine.
Right.
Where if you're like, there's like compatibility kind of thing. Like if you're compatible with it and like, you know what I mean? Then I think it would uphold that. But if you get out of line, it's not going to have you like be like causing a disturbance in public. It'll shoot you with it'll probably shoot you with a taser.
Yeah.
And then like,
I mean, that's true.
Then other cops will come and get you.
Then you're probably a bit of a problem.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, right. So if you're like loud and aggressive, calling it a dick, it's going to be like, it might, it's like all of a sudden somebody like a detective is going to be like programming and like watching everything you do through the AI.
Yeah.
That would actually kind of be worse because AI would then be kind of out of the equation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If they had like somebody live actively operating the thing. Because which way do you think it would go?
Well, I think they would have potentially less empathy for the humans standing there, but they would also have less fear, right? They don't have to pull a gun and shoot first. They can take 3 or 4 bullets and keep negotiating.
Well, no. But my question would be like, would it be an AI robot or would it be somebody controlling it? And like, you know what I mean? Because like I'm saying that like if you were going to argue like the matter of case law, because let's say you were like, well, that clearly wasn't jaywalking pursuant to the state versus Wilson in 1980. You know what I mean? Like whatever your case was, like you might be able to like have an arbitration like happen right there. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm just saying that I don't know if you would I don't know if you would be as fortunate with like an actual an actual street cop. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to give a shit. They're going to throw you in the back of the truck, but like they're not like, you can take it up with the judge, kind of shit. But I don't know if AI would be like that, or if it would actually be like, wow, you're right,
I think it would be pretty good at going because you'd very quickly optimize it on like safety, reducing crime, and all of those things. But the district attorney and the police chief would regularly be like, stop making us process people that we can't get a conviction against. Stop making us bang these people up in the jail and then get a civil suit against us later. Like I think it would, in those cases where it's wrong, it would be optimized well to not waste taxpayer money on prosecuting the wrong people.
Right. That's what I mean. Like if you were to be able to, let's say, actually have a solid rebuttal or something like to that effect. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I happen to think like the way through any of that is conditional acceptances, and I could talk forever about it because there's just a way to deal with some of this shit. And I think like, where you kind of leave them hanging, like they're like, oh yeah, that's right. And I'm just saying, I wonder if the AI would be more attuned to the fact that what would be a violation of like protections more so than like your average officer.
Yeah, see, I'm showing one on my screen now, and it's like a drone with a like light on the back of it that's like, you're illegal. People are parked in the bus lane. This drone's come out and taken photos of them and play them a thing going, your illegal activity has been recorded. What are these ones going to do now? That's wild. Please
See,
leave
it sucks.
immediately.
Like, I feel like, it sucks is that like now that like weed's legal, I'm kind of like
Yeah.
pro state. Whereas like before I was like, Babylon, down with the state. Now it's like weed's legal. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't asking for much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, I'm kind of content. Like, you know what I mean? You can work for a living. You can like, there's upward mobility in capitalism.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like this idea, weed's legal.
Things
You know what
pretty
I'm saying? Like,
good. Getting better.
and the laws aren't really asking too much of you.
Yeah.
If you think about it, you know what I mean? If you're not like, and that's the thing that gets me is like, you look at people that it's like, I don't know. I don't want to be like a dick, but it's like the people I know with like the most, like, they're just like so assed out. I just can't get it together. Are also like totally spending their money on like drugs, so it's like this thing where you're like, well, maybe if you thought about what the fuck you were going to do with your money and not be a crackhead, you would have the ability to fucking do shit with your life instead of complain about the state.
Yeah. This is not the system keeping you down, brother.
Yeah, dude. Like, maybe it's your drug addiction, you fucking idiot. You know what I mean? Like, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, maybe it's not the fucking system.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your dumbass. You know what I mean? Like, I just think that's why I think like the philosophical. That's why I love flat Earth eggs. You got to be a flat earther, man. It's cooler. Like,
It's cooler.
it is, bro. Fuck the fucking globe, dude. Like, it's so gay. Like the idea that I'm floating on a fucking rock, like it's just so fucking gay to me at this point. But
What about if that means reality is gay?
no, there's no way God ain't gay. So fucking non-negotiable. God ain't gay. But like I just think of it like, the stillness of you go outside and like the rain or something like that. And it's like you're just still. And it's like just that. We were talking about it this morning, kind of. Like the idea that like flat earth is this like philosophical safety valve because the materialistic nihilism logical conclusion of the globe, like it's too destructive to the fucking psyche of mankind because it's so gay. And it makes
I think it's only seen gay if it's on the outside. Like, to me, flat Earth seems trapped in a bubble, trapped in an invisible, undetectable bubble, and I mean that like in a metaphorical sense more than a physical one.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I can grant. I definitely have to like pick apart like your average flat earther, if you will. You know what I mean? Like I stand alongside the Globers in a lot of that because I just think like there is levels of like ridiculousness, but I think like it's like an instrument though. It's like you could take an instrument and you know not make want to people not make want or not want to make people listen to music. You know what I mean? Or like you could be like destructive with that. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas like in the right hands, in the right setting, it could be really profound and beautiful or something. And like, I just think that flat earth has that same kind of thing to it. In the right setting, in the right whatever, it's like it's very profound. It's very monumental. And I just only think that it has that because of the sureness of the globe is so state sponsored and has the audacity and the bravado of the state, of the obnoxious state. It's just breathed, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just got this like air of arrogance and like, you know, like it's like, you know, these people that believe in the globe were not the scientists that created the ideas. Like they weren't the geniuses and the soft intellectuals that shaped the possibility of the globe. It's like they're the adherents of the state who accepted it and exploited it. You know what I mean? Like that's what kills me with it. It's like I respect the scientists enough to be like, yo, the state has almost abused the findings of these great men by, you know, creating these fucking
just to me,
acolytes.
like then one would say everything is false, right? Because it's state sponsored, but the state is sure it will be lying in some places, but as much as it can, it would be telling the truth. So it's as true that state sponsors flat earth as the state tells you should drink a lot of water or get exercise or, you know, save money or a whole bunch of other things that are just true.
I think,
and it could be said that the state is saying those things that are true or sticking in those very simply true positions because it would just cost you insane amounts of time and money to pretend something else. You would need to do so for great benefit. But I don't think it's fair to just go, the state sponsored, it's the Earth's flat, because otherwise you could then also just say, okay, then water's bad, I shouldn't have to deny it.
Well, I will say this is like the state offers the globe, right? Like, you know, and what I appreciate about it, like in our system, and I think it is the best system here in the States anyhow, is like it also it doesn't condemn my right to question it. Do you know what I mean? Like on paper, if you will. The population's a different story. But like the government itself, it says that, like, you know, you can't be persecuted for that belief. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas, like, free to believe. Right. So, like, the state's already convinced that they don't have the right to tell you, you know, out of like, probably, you know what I mean, out of just a sternness. But like, then it's the population of people that are like, I think, like, the state offers the globe, but it doesn't really preach it, or, you know what I mean? But people do. And I think, like, you know, people have been like convinced by agents within the state to be like really dead set on this like wondrous discovery of science and everything that nature provides. Like, instead of looking at it through the lens of like Isaac Newton or someone with this kind of brevity, they're looking at it through the lens of, they've been like pigeonholed now. Like, we've been locked in to a position. And I think that the position that we've been given, that is supported by the state and by the people who believe what the state gave them and nothing else. You know what I mean? Like, that's almost unprecedented in the mind of science, in the essence of science, right? It's become a belief.
I think that it's mixing so many things. It's mixing sort of metaphysical with like philosophical or epistemological, and then the state with science. And it seems from there it would be very messy, where I think that the question of the shape of the Earth predates science. I don't think we've ever done anything approximating science really on whether we're on a bull. I think it was largely accepted with tools that predate the modern scientific method.
So I would think the globe is deduced from the science that, like, these gentlemen, what we refer to as science, that these, you know, people that have made these observations and maybe even proposed the sphere in the first place with observation. Do you know what I mean? But I don't think that but those people themselves were not confounded. I don't think they were confounded by any particular, like, I don't think, like, I think they had a sense of awe and a sense of wonder that we do not have today because of things like the moon landing. And I think it has disenfranchised the people. And it's made them a bunch of fucking arrogant dickheads who don't appreciate any of the ideas that were initially on the table, up until the state says it went to the fucking moon and proved Galileo right. You know what I mean? Because all of those were just musings of people and observations and theoretics until we, quote unquote, proved it. And the only ones that have proved it, the only fucking party is the state that did it. So all these questions are viable until the state fucking says that they aren't by going and saying that they went to the moon. It's otherwise all of the options are on the table. Everyone is equal. But now that the
that
state does it,
suggests that
you create a divide. Well, no, you create a divide of loyalty to the state's position and believing what the globe as matter of fact without question. You know what I mean?
Do you think there were significant numbers of people questioning the shape of the Earth? Like, when did they go to the moon? 1969 or something? Do you think in 68 there was significant numbers of people questioning the shape of the Earth?
I know old timers now that were flat earthers back then. I didn't even know about. Like I brought it up, like old people. Like I think flat earthers
Right, but it would
more
need to be
around
a significant number, right? It
fair enough. But I think
if
it was more
just now, then it would fail at what you're saying, where you're saying it dulled the creativity of a lot of people. Where for me, everybody who accepted that moon was physical and that the Earth was a sphere, it opened up, I think, many of their minds. It was already done by the time it came into mind, but it opens your mind into we can stand on other heavenly bodies. We're not trapped on this rock.
Space travel. I get it. Yeah, because I mean, I've felt that. I've studied and was very much into space because of that. You know what I mean? Like I remember my folks even being into it. We used to watch the moon, like the takeoffs and like I remember watching shit with my dad. But like, point being is that to accept that as wholehearted, like I'm just saying, I think that there's almost like like a spell, if you will, that's been put on the people not to consider the alternative. Like I think it's very beneficial for the state to have people.
My point is that spell, if it's there, must have been long before the space race, right? Nobody was.
I don't. No.
Really. Do you think there were big numbers of people questioning the shape of the Earth before?
Well, I've talked to you before about Joshua Slocum, right? Joshua Slocum, you know about him?
Sure.
In like 1908 or whatever it is. We've talked about him before. Like, going to the Boer Republic and debating whether or not the Earth was flat with the president of the Boer Republic. But like anyway, like I think this question was more around than people will give it credit for. And I think after they went to the moon, it was almost like a shameful thing to think, if you will, regarding like liberty and patriotism and the rest of it, to say that we didn't, or to question that, was like unpatriotic at that point. And that's what they've done, is they've interwoven science with politics to create what I think is like loyalty to the state based off of your belief of how fantastical they can be. And I just think when somebody's telling me they're going to the moon, it's really hard for me to fucking accept it, because it just seems quite illogical. And I just think that like all of these ideas were on the table at one point, and we've been deprived of these ideas. And that's the unfortunate part about it. But the most unfortunate part is that people are arrogant in being so sure about their cosmology that's only ever been confirmed for them by the state. And like, I would ask you, Eggs, like, would you think that cosmology affects philosophy?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How big your universe is going to have an effect. That's part of my complaint, right? My complaint against flat Earth is that you're in a little bubble.
So I had this issue earlier talking about cosmology. So when I say cosmology, in your mind, does that strictly reference like deep space?
No, it means like your overall sort of, particularly the physical side of your worldview. So how big do you think it is? Where does your place fit within it? That kind of thing.
Yeah, right on. I had this issue. I forget it was who earlier, but like about the idea that talking about cosmology like was like, all of a sudden we're in the world of nebulas. You know what I mean? And like shit like that. And I was like, no, like this is more about like your cosmology. Like, because let's say myself, I might look at it like, the universe isn't that big. You know what I mean? That it's right there. You know what I mean? Like it's not far. Who knows? Or that like there's some discrepancy of distance that we can't tell based off of optics and the dome. Like and that it doesn't outstretch millions and millions of miles or something. You know what I mean? Like it's right there. And I just think like all those
could be true. It could be both. Both. Everywhere is everywhere, right? There could be like multiple realities folded in a single spot, and nothing is where anything else is, and they're very far apart. It could. I think it would be sort of logic breaking to
I think that's like what a Glober would say. It's like, because you guys get the dilemma with like quantum mechanics and shit. But like, I don't necessarily, I'm just saying, like, when I say cosmos, like, I could be referring to just what I refer to as the firmament. And it's like, and it's evidence of the handiwork of God or something. And like, not so necessarily like, and because of that different outlook, the idea is that there's, instead of the philosophical nightmare of what I think is a philosophical nightmare of the globe, because the only logical conclusion is that there is no God and we're related to monkeys. We're on a fucking rock floating through space in a Goldilocks zone that never should have existed. The sun's going to explode. You know what I mean? The boogaloo's going to happen. The economy's going to collapse. Like, it's just, everything's just this fucking trap. And I just think, like, the idea that you could go outside and say to yourself, well, I don't feel like I'm spinning. I don't feel like I'm like, that is so profound just as an alternative to what's been offered. And I think the globe has just demonstrated that it's created nothing but nihilist drug addicts.
Hey, I resemble that accusation.
There's no hope in it. It's fucking like, do you see how it's a nihilistic trap?
I see why it is from your perspective, sure. I think sometimes people feel that way a bit, but I think it's a choice. I think that there are many ways. Like for me, there are many things that would lead to a fairly nihilistic worldview in having a creator, particularly having a personal creator God that judges you.
Well, hold on. Let's change that perspective about God, though.
Or
Real
like
quick.
being trapped in a world in which something, whatever it was, created things such that the Earth looks like it's a sphere and isn't. I would be just furious about such a thing. I wouldn't want to serve, or I don't know. I guess I'd still.
Well, no, it's not about. Well, hold on, though. See, like, when you think of
Do you
God,
be
though,
resentful?
well, hold on. When you
Yeah.
think of like God, though, eggs, like you're superimposing this rule system, and like I've been lately like trying to get across just the idea of like the way I think of God is like the father that can correct his child, and like the idea that like you can as a child,
What
right?
was
You
your
can
father
always.
like?
Oh, my father was a great man. You know what I mean? No doubt. What do you call it? And I mean, he had his shortcomings, which I'm not going to get into, but like the idea that
Right.
like that,
You aspire to be as great as him or greater?
um, yeah, I would say both.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's achievable though. He's a good motherfucker, man. But he's a bad motherfucker. Yeah, good, very good person. Whole nother conversation. But like
Yeah.
the idea of, if your child does something and like, I've been using this example of like, let's say spills a glass of milk and they come up to you and tell you that they spilt the milk. And it's like, or like if you give your child something and they say thank you, like, you know what I mean? That means something. That like is profound versus like some stubborn attitude, some ungratefulness, some whatever. And all I think of is like, the creator also made your hands. So like, which allows you to feed yourself, touch beautiful women. Yeah, but they made beautiful women for your pleasure. You know what I mean? So like the idea is that like just that alone is just evidence of God's mercy and like his blessings to you in my mind. And I think that if you're grateful, you're only going to be blessed in this life because just the way a father would take care of their child more or, want to take care of more. And I was thinking about the double slit experiment earlier. Sorry to ramble, dude. But I was thinking to myself, like, an average Glober looks at the double slit and doesn't really see much. Like Omni this morning, we didn't really it doesn't have anything effect on to philosophy. And I was thinking, like, to someone like myself, like, I think, well, maybe like if the light acts differently when it's observed, then maybe your children act differently when they're observed. Like maybe you should be around them more. You know what I mean? Like maybe like, and these are the kind of things that I think of
I think
like
that's
as.
self-evident, though. Being
I
around your
agree.
children more, like that,
No,
the
of course.
positive, like versus the negative. Yeah, it's not even.
No doubt. But like the idea that it's in the same vein as the double slit experiment. Like, when it's observed, it behaves differently. And I think like for ourselves, like, like instead of looking at God as like some like, oh, he's going to judge me and he doesn't love me if I don't do what he says. It's like, I would just ask, or, for you even, like, don't think of it as that's the case. It's not about that. So like, the stress it might cause you for flat earth because some God is going to judge you. Like you're superimposing that on top of this cosmological idea that even like the birds and the bees and everything were made for you. You know, like all of this was made for you. And that's a different philosophical approach than like, you know, I'm floating on a rock and this is all an accident and fucking I gotta kill all the mosquitoes or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's the problem is it will just always look that way for somebody from the outside. I think you're right about as we cross over, as we go from believing to non-believing, there is that feeling for a bit. Maybe some people still deal with it, but the thing I think most people find is that when you spend some time choosing meaning for yourself, you end up coming back to the same things. That it's about love, that it's about empowering others and helping and leaving a good impression. And there are good reasons to do good things. And that nihilism, that I'm only going to be here for a short amount of time, perhaps humanity's only going to be here for a short amount of time, increases the need to make this moment better. It gives as much as it takes. But I mean, it doesn't have to. That's the problem with it. But all I'm saying is that from me, from the inside, I can see that. But I get from the outside why it doesn't look that way because I was religious and thought that before. But also, I'm aware that if I look at a religious mind, I quite often want to make the same negative assumptions about it because they'll make me feel better about being an atheist. I'll go, well, they just live for some God that they were told in a book and, you know, they haven't
actually, no, it's
thought
kind of interesting that
chosen their own destiny in terms of what it means to be a good person.
like it's interesting that like, you know, we can both or you know because we're both casting the negative light on the other's cosmology in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I get, you know, myself being like, oh, you're gonna wind up a nihilist versus seeing like, you know, the romanticism in it, like you might, you know. And you know, and likewise, you know. So that's an interesting you know, I find that interesting.
What if they
'Cause,
came
like,
to that conclusion on their own eggs, right? Where they're like, all right, this is the right way to be, before they even touch the Bible. Hey, think how much the scripture would resonate with them. Get what I mean? Like the whole love idea,
you know,
love
I
thy
saw
neighbor,
yeah, I
and
was
then
actually there's a thing called divine nature. You ever heard of that? I was at church today and it was Simon Peters and Peter, Second Peter or something. And it's like, you know, the idea of like you have a divine nature. And the divine nature, if you think of the divine nature, it's like being like the sun or being like, you know what I mean? Like it's always just giving. It gives to everybody. It doesn't fucking care who you are, you know? And I thought that was just a cool idea of like this divine nature. It's such an interesting thing.
Yeah. And that's when it gets to that point where I think sometimes, same as I was saying the other day about going into the afterlife, it ends up either meaningless because we have this because logic kind of needs to break down for an afterlife to exist. You need to have in the laws of logic not work. And
Not necessarily.
do
you know the life cycle of a seed? The sowing, the dying, and the quickening.
What's the quickening?
Well, so after the seed it has to die before the quickening. The quickening, it transforms into something completely different, a flower, a tree, etc. And you have to be aware you're a seed too. So you might follow the life cycle of the seed as well. Because as we know, seeds grow after their own kind. So
yeah, I guess either logic breaks down or the other possibility is that it wouldn't matter to me as who I am now. Because, yeah, if I come back after the quickening as a different form, then it is a different form that's living in heaven or not.
Yeah, Eggs, you ever seen that analogy, like the two babies in the womb? They're the twins.
No.
And they were talking about, like, one is like, yeah, what do you think it's like after we, leave the womb? And the guy was like, there's nothing. You just go into blackness, And,
Yeah, there's not like
like, they're having, like, this this conversation, how, like, he's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, well, what do you think mother will be like? And he's like, there's no evidence of mother.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
She's
Like, there's no evidence of that. Fucking, Yeah. And it's a great little analogy of, like, I don't know, man. It's just like, because it makes it, like, to me, like, the idea of a creator, it's like, it is the most logical position. It is the most, like just like a baby in the fucking womb, we're sitting here, have no idea potentially what the next stage in development may be. And, like, granted, like, I think, and I appreciate, like, atheism in a sense that it's also a safety valve from the pressure of a religion. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But I think it also worth our while to be religious and be philosophical, and yet have the doubt and the skepticism that I think the creator gave us to have in the first place. Like, I think people, even of their own of faith or whatever like that, they neglect their own skepticism.
Yes, I don't
mean?
think they do. I think we all of us have to look beyond something, right? The flat earther has to not look up. The glober, as you would say, has to feel that they aren't spinning and conclude that they are. We all have to ignore some part or another. But I think the only way to come to a flat earth now with air travel and stuff is by just believing the book.
Right, but the point is just what?
By believing the book. It's more by
No. Hold on. No, bro. Check it though. It's like, dude, go take a fucking flight. There's no curve. There's no fucking. The point is, like, you guys.
Neil deGrasse said even at like 200,000 people.
Right. There's no evidence for, like, not one of us, other than people from the fucking state, have ever fucking seen curvature, bro. There's no evidence for it. Nothing.
None?
And you would never be able to land the plane with a tangential gradient, by the way.
I'm just saying, like, for all intents, what up, New P? Like, for all intents and purposes, bro, there's no evidence for it. And it's interesting today, even, like, we were talking about little g and stuff, and it's like just this, like, adding the little g and the speed and claiming that that's proof of gravity. It's like, dude, there's nothing. Like, literally, there's nothing but a belief system involving the globe. Like, it is the most religious, scientific belief in the shit because there's no fucking evidence for it.
But I think if you just look up, like 50% of your evidence is for it.
No, but that's like saying, like, okay, crepuscular rays. Like, it's like, the crepuscular rays prove the like, the dome of, like, the earth and the sphericity of it. No, it's a matter of fucking perspective.
But so I don't think they're good either way.
Right, but my point is right. But the point is, like, even in your own model, it's perceived to be a matter of perception, a matter of your personal perspective.
But when I say I look up, I don't mean specifically at crepuscular rays. Like, what about?
Yeah, but I'm just saying we've been looking up, dog. We got that argument too.
What about Jupiter?
Jupiter's awesome.
But it looks like a sphere with spheres orbiting it, right?
Yeah, but it looks like what? So fucking what? With so fucking, I mean, dude, hot. Like, there's men on Instagram that look like they're fucking women. It looks like a fucking girl, but it ain't. It's like, like, I don't know what Jupiter is. I'm not gonna argue like Jupiter's some fucking whatever.
How does it come to look like a girl? By physically resembling a girl, right? By getting breast implants and the like.
Yeah, it's disgusting. You can still tell it's a dude, though.
But
point being is,
shape. We can tell something is a certain shape because of the shape it is by seeing it. We don't need to touch it to see it.
It doesn't prove shit about the Earth, though. And, like, the issue is that because every time, like, the point is that the only evidence you have is some shit up in the sky, which I'll agree. Like, Jupiter's profound, Saturn is beautiful. Like, I love all that shit, but it doesn't prove shit about the fucking sphericity of the Earth. And, like, if you ever try to, I'm just saying, like, there's literally. Brother, there's, like, zero evidence. It's just pure faith that you have for that.
Well, it's reasoning. So it's
reasoning, but it's faith. It's reasoning for God. There's more reasoning for fucking God and Jesus Christ's resurrection than there is for fucking sphericity of the earth, dude. Seriously.
Well, but
As what's
let
the
reason.
logic chain from I see an object in the sky to therefore that must be what I'm standing on right now? That must be Earth. Like, what's the logic
So I wouldn't
chain?
go therefore. I would say the probability that I'm on something flat, if all I can see is down and all of the water's pointing upwards and I haven't traveled far, the probability I'm something flat is high. But if I look up and I see a spherical moon, or I see Jupiter and I see moons orbiting Jupiter and casting shadows across its surface such that it looks like balls orbiting balls that all themselves rotate eastward while orbiting eastward, all on roughly the same plane, and I can make predictions and observations about that, I can then make guesses about what something might look like by that. Like, just get a physical model, put it in your house and spin it and see, like, who would be able to see this from here and what would it look like from there? And everything you see up there, which is why the flat earth says don't look up, gives you a high probability that you can get gassy looking things in the middle of inky blackness, that you can get spherical balls of fire that other things orbit, that shadows cast across shadows when things line up roughly how they should, or many of the things that are necessary for us to have, like gas pressure next to the water. Almost everything that is necessary for to be explained by the globe, you can get a fairly strong hint of by looking up and go, okay, so the probability increases that I'm on a body like that, and now I can use that to go and do
Yeah, but
tests of what
the
it looks
issue
like in both
becomes
models, for example.
right. But then the issue becomes like we have evidence for more. Like, let's say, I'm just saying, like we have like I would agree that there's still mystery in the world, but like the point is that the globe is not exclusive to explaining these things. Like, we can easily show air pressure. We can easily show, and we could show it. Like, you guys can't show it here on. You can't show gravity holding. Like, you can't show the cause or demonstrate anything other than
Yeah,
by
I can.
pointing to Earth for your explanation.
Well, by
And
saying
like
look up.
we can, but right, but we can show that, like, air pressure exists in containment, and like,
Oh, nobody
we can.
disagrees on that. That's
Right,
never
right. But I'm
that
just
to
trying to say,
point
like,
that out is like
this,
saying the sky's blue. Nobody argues
well,
against that. So it's
right, and we can. But I'm saying, like, we could say, like, but I'm saying in our case, we could say, all right, we can demonstrate physical containment. We can't seem to demonstrate gravity just holding air pressure, and like,
what about
like,
Jupiter?
without using the Earth. You know what I mean? So
What about
like, well, the Jupiter doesn't prove that you can keep air pressure without
No,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't
have air
prove.
pressure. I don't think. Or I don't know. I
What
mean,
does
how
it
the
look
fuck
like?
do we know what's even going on Jupiter?
What does Jupiter look like? If you're saying the core of your argument is we've got to trust our senses, and I'm testing you on that, what does it look like when you use your sense of sight to see an image of Jupiter, particularly when you get those videos of it? What does it look like?
Like a mysterious fucking jelly. I don't even know. It's wild, dude. I don't even know. I can't. I mean, like, what do you mean? What do you want me to say? Like a sphere?
It looks like a gassy sphere orbiting.
Yeah, sure. I'll give you that.
Or
So,
does that kind of match what you've been already like pre-programmed since like a baby to look at?
Sure,
Like,
yeah. Which is what would be the case if it were true, right? If it were true that it
Right,
was a
but
gassy
well, you know what
ball,
that's like,
looked
though.
like a gassy
Imagine,
ball,
but eggs.
then we'd be
Imagine
taught
like,
it's a gassy ball.
looking at, like, like a sub-Saharan African. You know what I mean? And being like, "That's you, eggs. That's you." You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, just because you fucking like, just because you see something and like, there's like, I just don't. I don't necessarily think that because Jupiter it looks like what it is that's what we are. I
right,
think
like it's
that
No, but it
actually
gives us,
I
a
just
it's,
don't.
it's
It's
an
like it's not.
idea.
I'll put it to you like
Didn't
this:
say
it's an
that.
idea. It's a great, and I'll grant it's a great idea. The celestial sphere is very interesting for the globe, but like all I'm saying is like it doesn't. It's not exclusive, and this is really what I think it's all about: is this exclusivity of people being convinced that the globe is as real as they think it is, and I think that it's not exclusive. There's other answers to these which nullify the certainty that anyone should have about the fucking globe.
But you're saying sometimes I trust my senses, but other times when I see something that clearly looks like a gassy ball with tornadoes
It's not
in
the
gas,
Earth, dude.
all right, but you're saying I sometimes trust my senses, but sometimes when I look up, and it's not the Earth, I agree, but sometimes when I look up, I stop trusting my senses, and then I need explicit proof.
No, it's about the idea that I'm not drawing a false connection. It's
yeah.
about I'm not
You're
like,
not.
you know what I
You're
mean?
just
Like
saying that you've got
you're imposing like a concept
No,
onto
I'm just saying,
what
what does it
is.
look like? It looks
Well,
like a
no,
gassy ball with a tornado.
right, but that doesn't necessarily necessitate the Earth is a ball.
Right. We're both making the same observation.
But once we say that's probably a ball, once we can get there, once we can say, I trust my senses when I see a ball that orbits and has shadows cast across its surface such that I can clearly see it's a ball, then I say that's almost definitely a ball. It's not definitely
Right.
one. I don't say therefore it's a ball. It's just very probably one, so I can do further tests. But if you can't do that, then we are failing at the first step of
Well, no, we're not disagreeing
naturally
about
observed
Jupiter.
phenomenon.
We're not
Well, we are.
disagreeing about Jupiter. No. We're
Then
not
we say,
disagreeing about
you're saying
Jupiter.
I can prove gas, and I'm
No.
saying that looks
I'm
like.
saying, sure, you can say that all you want, but I'm not like, and I agree with you. Sure, it looks like a gaseous ball.
Right.
But the point is that doesn't prove anything.
Which shows
Right.
we've got evidence. We do have
It
evidence.
doesn't. No.
You
You don't have. It doesn't have evidence of anything because just because it looks like what you're proposing, that's all you. That's the only thing you have. We don't know if
looks
it's
like we have
gas. We don't.
evidence,
Hold on.
that's
We
what
don't
you
know if
say?
it. Hold on. We don't know if it's liquid. We don't know if it's
No, it
actually
looks
just
gas-
oceans. I'm just saying, like, we don't fucking know.
I can
So
guess
we-
that. I can say it looks like it moves far too fast for it to be oceans.
Yeah, but you're conflating the idea that he can't trust his senses because somehow seeing that it's a gaseous ball proves that we're on a ball. And that's the
Right.
association that you're trying to impose on the argument, which is not fair.
There's no necessity. There's no necessity in that chain. Like we make a celestial observation. There's no necessity that says we have to be on that same observation, right?
You're moving the goalposts. This is just in response to Issa saying about gas pressure. We can show you gas pressure. You can't. You don't have evidence of that. And I said, I do. Like I said, look up. Once you look up, you go, that is so almost definitely. It looks like a gaseous ball. The core question you are asking with the gas pressure question is, can you just have a gaseous ball? If I look up and I see what is almost definitely a gaseous ball, I haven't proven it, but I've given very good evidence that a gaseous ball appears to be able to orbit eastward, rotate eastward around the sun at the same rate it would without losing all of its gas. It appears to have a tornado that's been going for hundreds of years. So yes, I do have evidence for it. That's all it's saying. It's if we trust our senses, we've got very good evidence for gas pressure in a sphere. If we don't trust our senses and we go, I don't know what that looks like, it could be God lying to me, using the heavens to tell me lies.
No. What it is just that, like, the observation of Jupiter is just like is just a like it's something encapsulated within the dome. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, like, I look at the dome as though, because we have to have a physical container because we have air pressure. Therefore, the dome would be, it's like a fixture within the dome. You know what I mean? And I could argue that it looks like it's just because it's contained. It must be a fixture within the dome.
Mm.
You know what I mean? That, like, is appearing to swirl and have, like, a tornado in it. But, like, that doesn't prove that there's a dome either.
Well, it doesn't even give us an indication there's a dome. It doesn't look like it's a thing projected on a dome, particularly considering you can bounce radio off it and it bounces back with the right strength and from the right place.
Well, I mean, I can create Jupiter on my fucking ceiling. I have, like, a little thing. I just put the slide card in.
That's my point. The whole ceiling will bounce back at the distance your ceiling is, whereas you can bounce signals off these very, very faintly. And like
I
what the
propose
sunlight is. So yeah.
Well, I think those signals are bouncing off of the topography of the dome.
Could be, but my point is, when you bounce a signal off the moon, it's like, wow, okay, the dome is 250,000 miles away, but only where the moon is. And then when
I think again, it would just confirm it's just a fixture within the dome.
It's the dome is behaving. Okay, then we accept that. Okay, fine. It is the dome. It's the dome lying to you to try its very hardest to make it look like spheres, orbit spheres.
Not necessarily, because if they were if they were fixtures within the dome and we were shooting light up to it, then maybe the moon is, like, let's say, even a fixture within the dome that blocks the signal. So therefore, like, it might pass through the ether of the dome, but therefore it reaches, like, a fixture in the dome, i.e. the moon, and therefore it returns the signal.
So the moon's just a moon now.
Well, it's just a moon. It looks like a sphere, but it's in the dome. It's a fixture of the dome.
Is it spherical?
Yeah, sure. I mean, well, it could look spherical. You know what I
But
mean?
is it
But it could also be
I
like,
see
well, I
it
mean,
from two slightly different angles.
I would, you know what I mean? It could be, yeah. It could be like, I mean, I look at it like it could just be a disk that appears to be like, just like Jupiter could be like a disk in the dome that looks to us. And, you know, maybe it is alive.
But it's
You know what I mean?
turning,
And
right? Jupiter's turning. So that dot goes around every 8 hours. It's turning crazy fast.
right. And
Hey,
like, I'm just saying, but that doesn't, yeah, but that's just an observation. That doesn't confirm my fixture in a dome thing, and it doesn't
But it's
confirm
not what
gas
a disk does, right? If
hey,
it's a
eggs.
disk, if it's anything else, it's pretending to be a ball.
Make a disk and make it look like Jupiter for sure.
What's the best footage you have, eggs? Like an amateur photography, or you know, something that you would claim is not CGI of Jupiter with the gaseous layering. Something that's
yeah.
definitely not enhanced by computer.
IB Hunter.
What's the best? I saw you had a bunch of them. I thought you had one that was like,
There's
this
some
one.
beautiful astronomical pictures of Jupiter. Jupiter's really fucking awesome, actually.
Yeah,
You know, this
but how
I've
much
had
of
the
it
pleasure.
really looks like that layering effect as much as?
I've had
there
the
you go.
pleasure to look
This
at.
is IB Hunter. I've talked to him personally. Also, this is what I find convincing. It doesn't mean it's going to prove it for your standards. If you say, what do I think is good evidence? I think that is great evidence that it turns. Look at that. Look at that.
Oh, I'm
How
not saying it
clear is
doesn't
that?
turn, but the enhancement of the layering and all that. I was wondering how much of that is what amateur photographers getting. I'm not even questioning whether they do or not. I just wondered what the best one is. Is this the best one you think?
Do I think that people have captured it more clearly? Quite probably. It's just I know this guy, and I think he's really cool, and he, yeah. But it's through stacking and all of that stuff. But I think stacking's legit.
Wait,
Cool.
where's the picture?
Share it on my screen.
Oh. Is it? Oh, that one?
Wait. That's pretty good.
I mean, I just, you know, and I like Jupiter. I just don't think it proves, you know, anything about.
I didn't say it proves. Does it increase the probability? Does it make it? Does it give you a good reason to go, hey, I guess the thing I should consider is what now it seems like gas does have a good reason to stick
Now,
to something.
To me,
I'll
it's
say
so
this.
different from Earth, though.
At
It's
this
so
stage of my
different from Earth.
life, at this stage of my, you know, my understanding of these things, no, it doesn't convince me.
Does it
Like,
increase
you
the
know,
probability that gas can stick to a ball? Does it affect that at all?
No,
It looks
not
exactly
anymore.
like gas.
I used, yeah, no. I mean, I coming from the globe perspective, like as a kid or whatever, like I understand why why that makes sense, and I get the idea. It just no longer holds weight for me anymore.
But what you're saying holds weight is, I am not convinced that gas can stick to a ball, even by something I agree looks exactly like gas sticking to a ball.
But you don't
Hey,
know
what's
the
the
pressurized station of Jupiter, right? Nobody's ever been there.
what's the theory
Sure.
again about the red dot, the red bulge that stays consistent? That's supposed to be like. Go ahead.
They said it's meant to be a strike from something. Like once a storm starts in that spot, apparently it sort of lasts for ages, but it got a lot bigger in like the 70s or something, 80s. It got noticeably bigger, they think, from a strike because it
stays so much. So I mean, if it was all gas, you would think that might dissipate. Is all I'm saying. My point is that it seems like a formation of some sort that doesn't behave like we know gases do. Maybe.
Sure, maybe, yeah.
To me, it looks so different than Earth. It's just kind of a stretch to say we must be that too.
I'm not saying that though. This is the thing. This is why it's so difficult to have this conversation. I was just asked, what about gas pressure? And I said, look up.
Pressure.
Right. If you want, why are we on the same thing? We need different reasoning. But
To me, it looks like gas in a container or like a liquid moving around in a container. It doesn't really look like gas. Just.
Do you see a container?
I mean, it's contained, is it? Is it not?
Well, it's contained, sure, but then it's just gravity containing, right? Because it's got moons that you see going around it, right? Have you seen that bit in the clip? I'll play it
I mean,
again.
moon's going around it, but that doesn't speak to the containment. What's containing,
Sure.
whatever that is.
Probably the same thing that makes it a sphere helps keep the gas into the sphere because it is a gaseous sphere.
Well, I think, what if just it's electromagnetism and statics, out in, in that region of the dome. And like, I think like, it's kind of interesting because I was kind of not as familiar as I would like to think I ever was about like little g and the idea of just adding speed. You know what I mean? It's some like confirmation of gravity. I just think it's hilarious. Like, I think a lot of the
Could be an object rotating in like a porthole of sorts.
I just think that, there could be I mean, it's fascinating. And I'll tell you what, it does the globe a service. I won't say that it won't, because I think the globe should be, I think it should be 50-50, in a sense, at least in the public square. So it's not a bad argument that Eggs is making. I just think like, and it is like used as evidence for that gas pressure. But like when we're forced to look at Jupiter and say that that's what we've got, whereas like when that's compared next to like us having like gas pressure in a tire, gas pressure in a tank, air pressure in a, you know what I mean, in a sealed cabin. Like in comparison to that evidence, it's fucking moot. That's the problem.
Yep.
Because like we can replicate what we're talking about. It's like just like my cup of coffee. Cup of coffee's flat from fucking brim to brim. And like at what fucking point am I to think that like that kind of flat cup of coffee is gonna turn into a fucking gravity is gonna force it to, become a fucking sphere. Like it's nonsensical.
Yeah, you've been in this conversation long enough, Eggs, that you don't really think that the idea that we're on a globe is settled science at this point, right?
I don't think science needs to really come into it much.
Well, I think there's an academic science, and then there's like this, speculative science, which I would think we do. And I to be honest, I wouldn't want academic science to come be flat Earth in a certain sense. And I've made that case before, but I just think like the idea that you see how when you delve into it and you start thinking about it, though, it isn't settled science, and that's the thing, and that's where it becomes state propaganda to me.
It should be, because like, you don't see people trying to prove 1 + 1 = 2, or laws of thermodynamics.
Yeah,
Well, I
Eggs,
think-
you're not hoping that flat Earth goes away. Like you don't think there's like,
No.
I mean, if there was a way to know one way or another, you think it'd be important to know, right?
Oh, I think there is a way to know, and I'm fairly like as much as one could use the word no. I think it's easy to figure that out. Yeah, to do good tests.
Well, people say that it used to, but you can admit it's still a faith, right? I mean, people can say that about God. You have a faith that it's true. You don't have proof.
Proof, I think, is a silly word, but evidence is like I can't test God, right? Anytime I go, I prayed and it didn't work. Somebody goes, that's not how it works. And anytime somebody says, oh, God works in mysterious ways, what they're saying is you can't predict this, you can't test this. But if you want to test how a gyroscope responds to a 24 hours of sitting on a table, you can do that.
Well, Issa's coffee cup, with his flat water is great evidence that water doesn't bend the way it should.
Doesn't it? Okay. How much does it bend? His coffee cup?
Well, does it?
I don't know. It doesn't sound like a test. It sounds like a
you have evidence of water bending the way it should.
Here, Eggs too. Made me think of, if you can look at fucking Jupiter and surmise that we have gas pressure without fucking containment, then surely you could look at a cup of coffee and see the profundity in the relationship that you're never going to get to a point where that cup of coffee could get so big that it starts curving. Do you know what I mean?
Could you imagine
it's just illogical. again, it's like, well, I mean, that's. I think I have a song about that, but I think no, I don't think that makes sense for me. No, it just makes zero. There's no Jupiter's Jupiter. Earth, I have a cup of coffee, and it doesn't make sense if the Earth be 70% water, that there would, like, at what point is that cup of coffee going to expect, or the swimming pool going to start fucking curving? Like, it's just asinine on its face to me at this point.
Beyond the interpretations of the sky or anything that we've been taught about being on a spinning ball, eggs. Can you say there's one thing about being on a spinning ball that's self-evident whatsoever?
Sure,
I said beyond the interpretations that we've learned about the sky. You would never think you're on a spinning ball if you were just born here and we're taught all the interpretations that we're on a ball, right? There's nothing self-evident about being on a spinning ball. You would think there'd be one thing.
And you're saying don't look up again?
Self-evident about the extreme claims that the ball has us believing in, right?
I don't know. I feel like you fenced it in there. Why can't I say look up? My whole point here is look up. And you're like, can we go back to not looking up?
Well, no, you see things moving around in the sky, but the whole interpretation is that we're moving and that they're basically static, right?
No, nothing's static.
Well, things are moving, right? Yeah, we can see the wandering stars, the planets, whatever you want to call them. We have all those things that are moving, but most of the motion is because we're moving, and there's nothing self-evident about that whatsoever.
New perspective. Let riding on eggshells look up.
Let me look up. Yeah, I just say look up. If you want to look up, then you go, oh, wow, look at that. Balls orbiting balls eastwards. I wonder if we're a ball orbiting balls eastward.
But you would never come to that. You would never even question that without all the theoretics that go into that you've learned that could make it possible for you to be upside down relative to us right now. You would never guess that you're upside down relative to me right now, unless you learn that there's a possible explanation for that from the scientific blah blah blah, the dogma, in my opinion.
I think if I was born a flat earther, been a flat earther my whole life and hadn't questioned it, and then you suddenly showed me a picture of Jupiter, affirmed for me that it was true, and said, yeah, that's that sky, that light you see sometimes up there, this is what it looks like if you look through a telescope, and I believed that, I would immediately start to go, maybe I'm on a ball.
Really? Even though you don't have any movement, you don't feel any movement, you don't feel, you'd have to be upside down without the gravity theory and all that, Come on.
All of that would be up there. You would look up there and go, hang on, and how?
You'd be like, oh yeah, maybe I'm doing all those motions and I'm going around and I'm upside down. That would just be intuitive for you to come to that conclusion. Come on.
Would it have it has a lot of motions, doesn't it? Jupiter's going round with having things going round it while it's going round the sun, and it's turning on its axis. It's doing exactly all the same things in the same way.
Well, maybe if you saw some people on it that were upside down relative to other people, something that resembles Earth, something that actually resembles Earth. Nothing about Jupiter resembles
Earth. An equator. Yeah, it's got 2 poles and an equator and an ecliptic where the moon's orbit and cast shadows are roughly around that area. We've got ecliptic.
I'll give you that. The moons of other planets, I think, are the most convincing argument that we could, since we have a moon, we could be something similar. But I don't think that being born on this Earth, there'd be anything intuitive you could name about it that would tip you off, like any kind of experience directly. And you would think there'd be one, like we're going around the sun, and our acceleration changes a bit, and we're going 67,000 miles an hour. So there's definitely this thing that we have to do every year when we hit this point with this orbit that causes us to have some personal experience. There's nothing. I mean, your intuition, your experience tells you there's no movement whatsoever. Now that's pretty crazy. I mean, if we were on Jupiter and having all those swirls going in different directions, you would think there'd be some effect of those swirls going in different directions that would be obvious, from being on that planet, right? But there's nothing like that
discussing whether
here.
The existence of moons around other planets supports the idea that Earth could also be similar. New Perspective argued that there's nothing intuitive about being born on Earth that suggests we are on a spinning ball, while riding on eggshells countered with the similarities between celestial bodies like having poles and orbits.
Good job, Sage. I'm saying that the fact that there isn't anything intuitive about it, there's nothing about the direct experience at all about the orbits or the movement or any of that,
What do you mean?
makes
Your direct
the
experience
idea
is
that we're
vision.
moving
You see it.
not settled science. It's
You can see
still
it.
a concept. It's a belief that we're moving based on the correlation. You have correlation, you don't have causation.
I'm not saying it causes it. I'm saying you've got a very clear, direct visual experience that you can have, that you can get a whole ton of information from. You can go, that looks a lot like gas. It looks like it's got poles that are north and south to my poles. That if I can model what it would be like to stand on that pole, and I know that I would see the same pole stars with nearly the same. We would have a slightly different pole star as an interesting thing, actually. All of them would have slightly different pole stars, but they would be looking at roughly the same area, like a Polaris wouldn't be a million miles off from its pole star. You can make all of these different judgments and guesses, and none of them are proof. None of them have settled it and that's it. Lock it down. It's impossible now to dream up some possibility with a dome that it excludes a. It just gets more and more and more like if the Earth's flat, then everything when you look up is lying too. That's why you can't look up. And I think it's not what truth looks like. That's saying that Plato's allegory of the cave. That's saying to somebody, don't go outside.
Well, no, I mean, there's lots of evidence that we see way too far for the claim of the ball. We don't ever have any kind of proof that there's curvature whatsoever to begin with, and the electromagnetic poles over a flat Earth work the best for our system, and that could be another electromagnetic effect that behaves similarly in the sky, but we're the base foundation that needs a flat Earth with the magnetic fields over us for it to even work. That's a great argument for a flat Earth fact, and it's been ignored, and then it's been put into this stale, completely straw man version of flat Earth with one pole in the middle and all that. I think that was intentional to throw people off thinking that it works with two poles over a flat Earth, and that's a whole separate argument. But it doesn't automatically associate that we have to be on a ball if there's two poles.
Yeah, I'm saying the way our poles are 180 degrees apart look exactly the way they would on Jupiter. We can see that and model that on Jupiter because it's got those bands, those belts, and know what its poles
how
look
do you
like.
know that? How do you know it looks just like that?
Because you can see it with your eyes.
Wait, what can you see with your eyes?
You know what I was thinking? Like a good example of this would be like, we know that there's 3 suns because everyone on the continent of, each one of those positions, like in the south, can see the sun. Right? So it's confirmation of 3 suns.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? It's just like, because you could, it's gotta be.
Are you trying to defeat good reasoning by presenting some bad reasoning?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I think like, it's just evident. It's just if
you're not being serious now. You're not being serious,
where would you
right?
put the poles? Where would you put the poles here?
Well, you could have the poles would be where they are optically. You could have 3 poles, 4 poles. It's just like, but it's like saying this is confirmation of those 4 poles because this is what we observe. And I just think each side has its absurdities. That's all.
I don't get what you're saying about the 3 suns, but I think you weren't being serious, right?
Well, as serious as gravity.
Okay, yeah.
It's like, I'm just saying, the idea that when we take these observations and then we superimpose our version of it onto it, we could come up with any kind of claim.
Right. And if you decided it's a flat Earth, you could come up with whatever made up theory you need to support that idea, just like we're saying that the spinning ball idea is done. If it's not predictions, eggshells, and it's just postdictions, right? They've figured out the cyclical nature of it and they're calling it predictions. And then you repeat it as if they're predictions. You're kind of just like repeating propaganda, admittedly, then, right? If that is the case. If it was reverse engineered, right, then it would have to work perfectly.
I'm just astounded. It sounds like you're admitting you're just making stuff up, reverse engineering stuff like ad hoc out of nowhere.
No. What Issa's point is if he's saying just like the ball Earth, a flat earther could start coming up with unprovable ideas that support a flat Earth, and it would be just as fair.
If they've got a mechanism, sure. I'll take it's up to you if you want to come up with something and claim it's strong. It's up to me whether I think it's strong. I think if it's got a mechanism, other examples of things working in similar ways, evidence for it, testimony or something. If you go, here's this other way it could work, then it's fine. But it seems the other ways when it comes to the spinning of Jupiter is like it could be something pretending to look like a ball with balls orbiting it.
Well, I have to send you. I haven't sent you. I have to go actually, but I haven't sent you the dual pole flat Earth videos yet, eggshells. I don't think, but I'll DM them to you. But yeah, the electromagnetic fields that mirror, they're definitely great examples that the stars are making two toroidal fields, for the north and the south, and they converge and diverge. And that's great evidence for the idea that we have an electromagnetic field over a flat Earth.
It's great evidence.
And that provides
field. The toroid is kind of spherical.
That provides
right?
the mechanism, by the way. That's the mechanism.
Does the toroid have the north and south 180 degrees opposed or not?
Yeah.
Sure. So where do you get it? 180 degrees is straight up at the North Pole. Where is it at the south?
Well, if you're talking 180 degrees, you're talking sphere, right? They're opposed. Doesn't mean that they're 180 degrees with the assumed curvature in between.
Where are they in the toroid over the flat Earth? Where if North points straight up somewhere, where does South point?
Oh, it's not that. That's the assumption that it's pointing that they're antipodal. No, they have to. They're no, not necessarily. We have two toroidal fields, right? That oppose, just like we know electromagnetic fields manifest in real life. That we can actually show that definitely look like two toroidal fields, and then they have that same kind of squeezing towards the center that we see with the stars. It's definitely. I mean, I'll put a bunch of stuff in the chat here when I leave, as well as send you the DMs.
A singular toroidal field, a singular donut, will have a north and south either side of the center of the donut. If you've got two toroidal fields, you just got two norths and souths. You don't have.
No, it's two sides of the same electromagnetic field. That's the way it manifests.
But do you know what I mean about a toroidal field? Doesn't it have a north and south either side of the donut?
I know what you're talking about with that idea of the one that's enveloping in on itself, and it's got an in and out, kind of like a top and a bottom to it. I understand that idea as well. But it seems like the way that electromagnetism manifests matches the way that the stars are circling around us with counterclockwise, clockwise movements.
Hmm.
And it doesn't really work with the two poles over a flat Earth. Actually, the whole dynamics of it don't work the way that it would need to for the ball. The ball doesn't work with the two poles. Ironically, it wouldn't work that way. But I got to go. Because the whole thing about the way that if you were at the midpoint, in the way that, I mean, there's a whole study that's been done with magnets and the way the ball magnet works compared to the way the Earth should work, and with the polarities and everything. You have to have it over a dielectric plane. It only works that way, as far as we know. Maybe there's some kind of workings to the Earth like everything else that are unprovable, but theoretically the way it should be. But as far as what we can test, you can't show a ball magnet working the way that the Earth's supposed to work.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what we have access to. All right, I'll see you guys soon. I'm gonna definitely post this conversation. It's been a good one. I'll go back and get Issa playing the music beforehand. I was kind of disappointed that it stopped with the conversation, but now I think it was a good one. But play some more, Issa, if you get a chance. You don't have a lot of free time with people not around to play. So if you do want to play again, that'd be cool.
Yeah, thanks, brother. I'm fading. I think it's late over here.
Yeah.
Thanks,
right
brother.
On. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, good seeing you, brother.
You too.
I got a riddle for you guys. Who wants to play?
Yeah. Go.
You ready?
Mhm.
Post it in chat. What's the answer? I'll accept
Yeah.
2. Well, no, I'll accept 1 answer. Well, 2, I guess.
Is it a puzzle? A riddle?
If you can get 1, you'd be able to get the other. But if you get 1,
Oh.
you
Are
should
you
be
looking
able
for
to
a
get the
number? Or you can't give no hints.
All you get is a picture.
Okay. So we got 1 through 9 and 0. So we gotta go starting at 0. We do one of those turns. I don't know what that is. Oh, I think I could figure it out. It's like a combo lock, huh? Let me see here.
6961, isn't it?
Hmm? 6-1.
Answers only, please. Answers
Hmm.
only.
I think it's 6-1 first egg. Unless no. Yeah. 6-1. And okay, 6-1-5. 6-1-5-9. I guess not.
Answers only, please.
It was only a 7. 6-1. I'm gonna go 7-1. 7-1-6-9. Lock that in.
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
No, wrong.
Fuck. Dang, eggs. You don't know either?
No, I know I got it wrong. The second arrow goes backwards.
Yeah. That's that 1. And unless it's 2, it looks like 1. Oh,
So yeah, they go clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise.
that's what I was saying. 6 or 7 is the first number, right? Then it's got to be 1. Then
It could be, see, if it's going back and forth, it could be like 6, then it ends on 6, then it goes back around most of the way to 8, is that? Yeah,
but look
8.
at the
So
third twist. If
around
the
8,
third twist has to be 6.
it goes around to
Because if
4,
it was 5, it would be perfect in line with 0.
then it goes to
So it's
3.
got to be 6.
Does it end in 4-3?
7,
Don't
1,
don't.
6, 9.
Look for the pattern. Clockwise, counterclockwise, and back. It seems to alternate, suggesting the next should be the opposite of the last one. So what goes next?
So it look like reverse.
So no, there
Opposite.
seems like a few ways to interpret it, because if you end on the last one, I think you would start on 0, go round to 6, then you would start on 6, so you would go all the way around back to 8, then you would go most of the way back around to 4, I'm pretty sure.
But that first twist, is that going to bring you to 6 or 7? And then look at the third twist, because
That's 7.
it's got to be 7, right? Because look at the third twist. It's if it was 5, it would be dead center with 0. That third
Right.
twist. So that's what I was saying. 7-1. Gotta be 7169. But I don't know. I get 7169.
If you want the answer, just let me know.
I'm ready for the answer.
And it's a guess. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. It's my conclusion. But
Jesus.
I could rationalize it. I can rationalize it. That's why I said two answers. So I will put out 3713.
3.
Yep. So this is what you do. You take the 0, hold it, right? Then look at the arrow below it. You say, where does that arrow end up? Right? And you look at the shape of the arrow. Where does the arrow begin? It begins at 0. Where does it land? On 7. So I rotate clockwise. I put the 0 where the 7 is. And then I read out 1, 2, 3 will be where at the 12 o'clock position. So that's the first number to the combination, 3. And I rotate it all the way back to the 1, right? And then what do you get? So you bring, oh, actually, am I wrong on this? Hold on. I got to double check.
How are you like, what is triggering
Oh, I might be
your
wrong.
selection? What triggers your selection? When you twist it?
Oh, hold on. I got it wrong too. So, all
You're
right. So
probably
start
right.
with picture the first number has to be 3. That's one thing I'm guaranteed about. But
Well,
I think I might.
how do you get 3?
All right. So take the 0, right?
Okay.
Look at it like a school locker combination,
Right.
and then look at the arrow all the way on the left, right? The
Uh-huh.
beginning of that arrow starts at 0.
Okay.
Rotate it to where its destination, which is 7. Right?
Uh-huh.
So now you have to orientate the clock or the the
So
0 through 9
so you're
where
saying if
the
you
7
rotate
is.
it that much, the 3 will be where the 0
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
right now?
So put the 0 where the 7 is, and then just count out. The 8 will
Right.
turn into a 1, and then the
Yeah.
9 will turn into a 2, and then 3. So 3 is your first number, right?
Uh,
So now you're on 3, and it's actually, I did fuck up. So now you're on 3, and you're gonna rotate it back to the 1. So you just take the 3, bring it to the 1, and then it would be 2. Shit, so it's 3, 2. That's where I fucked up, right? So then you take the 2, where the 2 was, and then you bring it to the 6. And then what would that give you? That would give you 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. So it's 3, 2, 6. Hold on, I gotta write this down so I don't forget. 3, 2, 6. All right, so the 6 at the 0 position. So we move it back 2 spaces, and then we'll count backwards. Actually, we'll count forward 7, 8. So the last number will be 8. 3, 2, 6, 8. That's my rationale. Or I would say you could just match up the arrow to where it lands on the clock, and then it's like 7, 1, 6, 8.
it didn't tell you what the right answer was?
No, dude's an asshole. He just posted the image. But that's my rationale behind it.